our chairman of the Party of Commons, as well as our candidate for Director of Elections in King County, Washington, Mark Green, has been in the political boxing ring for decades, and he leads with strength, vigor, brilliance, savviness, and a shade of charisma. In 1964, just a 10-year-old kid in Detroit then, he watched with amazement as the upstart, Cassius Clay, floated like a butterfly and stung like a bee as he battled the favorite, Sonny Liston, and won in a stunning upset that shocked the boxing world. Mark parlayed the lesson of that match to the politics of Detroit in 1976 when the Coleman Young machine there, through their man, the then Northwest Side Michigan legislator, Morris Hood, and his team, tried to unsettle Mark with shades of intimidation. However, Mark fought back politically, went door to door in Northwest Detroit, managed to get some Polish-American volunteers to help him, and at least carried a few Polish-American precincts in the primary on a prison reform platform. The majority black legislative district went for Morris Hood, however, yet Mark's prediction that the Michigan prisons were a tinderbox came true just a few years later, as the Michigan prisons erupted in riots. Cassius Clay's motto of float like a butterfly and sting like a bee stayed with Mark politically as he finally arrived at what he thought would be the pinnacle of his career at that time, but found out that 2015 Washington State played politics Detroit-like, in a sense, as hack but fairly powerful newspaper men in Federal Way and radical leftist activists in King County. The latter were maintained by the ramshackle Municipal League of King County, and likely globalists as well. Brought forth a contagion of lies, distortions and mudslinging that were key in bringing Mark down to a somewhat narrow defeat. However, our chairman dusted himself off after the ruckus and stayed right in the political arena, trying to defeat the shady chameleon Farrell machine in both 2017 and 2021. Mark has long been a pro-life advocate, championing the issue in most of his campaigns, as it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that we all started off as zygotes and newly developed and full-grown fetuses. Scripture teaches us to respect life in all its forms. If elected Director of Elections, Mark will take online voting, even if it's only for little-known conservation posts, ranked choice voting, and if it is ever enacted, compulsory voting, and try to get all three of those unconstitutional or unseemly reforms abolished by taking them to court on day one. That would be a bee-stinging part of Mark's helmsmanship at elections, but he will float by explaining election practices, protocols, rules and laws by publishing an electoral practices section inside the voters' pamphlets. That will save us $1 million if ever the Constantine machine tries to waste money again for thinly veiled partisan reasons, with the so-called voters' education regimen. If you can, please help Mark get on the ballot by donating $50 or $100 to his GoFundMe campaign account that you can access through the Friends of Mark Green for Director of Elections section of this website. But if you happen to come upon this podcast by other than the website, please donate, volunteer, or make inquiries about the campaign by writing us at partyofcommons@yahoo.com. Again, that's partyofcommons@yahoo.com. Unfortunately, with time running out, donations are needed immediately in order for Mark to be on the ballot. We don't like to press upon our supporters and podcast fans the urgency of time for donations, but that's just the way the political calendar falls at this moment, like it or not. Thank you for your continued support by just coming onto the American Sunlight News podcast. And whether first-time newcomers or relative newcomers to the podcast, congratulations, you are much welcomed, and hope you stay with us for a long time. Strength, honor, and nation. I almost forgot, but a couple of more things before we go, just in case someone tries to check the veracity of this podcast. Mark ran under his first name, Clifford, when he ran for the Michigan legislature in '76. Mark is his middle name. Also, Mark thinks United States Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas is one of the great justices of our time, although Mark might be a tad to the right of Thomas. Finally, God bless America.